Rätsel.
The Ford Fiesta ST has dominated the super mini hot hatch class, but seeing as the next one isn't available until next year, what about alternatives? Well, today I'm joined by the new Vauxhall Corsa VXR. I'm going to jump in and see what the car is all about. So like I did with the SRI VX9, let's see what space is like in the back and how easy it is to get in and out. Yes, I know this is a hot hatch, but it's also designed to be practical as well as fast. Right, okay, fold the cargo seat forward like so. Right, okay. There. Well, it hasn't returned to its original position, so I've got loads of leg room at the moment. Let's bring that seat further back. So, I'd say the seat is about halfway or so, give or take. It might be a little further back than it was earlier in the SRI VX9. And as you can see, my leg room is it's definitely more limited than it was in the last model, because obviously you've got these Recaro seats and the back's sculpt outwards, which means it eats into the rear legroom. But I've still got a bit of legroom, but yeah, not much. So let's squeeze over to the driver's side. As always, the seat's been altered for my 6'2" frame, and oh dear, oh, I've got no legroom, and my head is touching the roof as well. So it seems as if these seats are positioned higher up than the SRI VX9, because in the last model my headroom was fine, but in this model, yes, it's not too great. Let's just jump back over here. Right, and what's it like to get out? Push the seat forward again. Oh, my left arm's stuck. There we go. Well, not the most dignified of exits, but I'm out. Right, let's start this naughty boy up, shall we? So, doesn't sound too bad, does it? The source of this noise is a 1.6 litre turbocharged petrol engine which produces 202 brake horsepower with 280 newton meters of torque. That means it will hit 0 to 62 in 6.5 seconds, and the top speed is 143 miles per hour. Not too shabby at all. But those are numbers. What's it like to drive? Well, instantly, the suspension is definitely firmer than the SRI VX9 I drove earlier, but that's to be expected. And down this road, which isn't particularly bumpy, the ride is definitely jiggly. Oh, suspension. The reason for the bumpy ride is because it has Koni dampers, which are part of the optional VXR Performance Pack, which is priced at £2,410. Also part of the pack are 18-inch alloys wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres, a Drexler limited slip diff, and larger Brembo brakes at the front. This engine is made to tow a 6-speed manual gearbox, which has got quite a nice throw to it. It's got quite a nice weight to it. It's a tad notchy, but it's not too bad. But I wouldn't say it's the most precise gearbox going. There is a bit of turbo lag, and I have experienced a fair amount of torque steer so far, but on the straight and narrow it will go like a rocket ship. Okay, so it's not the fastest hot hatch to 62 miles per hour, granted, but when you're sat in here, Jesus Christ, this really will move. And what's the handling like? Taking about this roundabout. The corner's relatively flat. Oh, bit of torque steer. And then I'm fired out of the roundabout like a cannon by this 1.6 litre engine. Unlike the SRI VX9 I drove earlier, this car does have sticky tyres. So on these 18-inch alloys, I've got Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres, and they do offer a good amount of grip, but sometimes the car does struggle to put its power down. Now, I know the roads are a little bit damp today, but some of the roads are also dry, and I was expecting the power to be put down a little more cleanly. The steering's got a nice weight to it. There's a bit of body roll, if I'm going to be honest. It's not the flattest hot hatch I've ever driven. It's not the most composed, and it isn't the most focused. And sometimes it does feel a tad frantic. The performance pack is definitely a factor here, and in all honesty, I don't think I can really recommend this option, not unless you're going to be taking the car on track fairly often. For day-to-day use, you'll probably find it simply too much, so you may want to save yourself £2,410 and go without it. Speaking of price, the standard price of this car would be £19,245, but the car tested does have a few optional extras, including the VXR Performance Pack I've already mentioned, the carbon details, the VXR Technical Pack, the sight and light pack, the dark tinted rear windows and the 2-coat pearlescent paint. Which means this car will cost you £24,245, and it's a fair amount of money, and that kind of money will open up lots of doors when it comes to options for hot hatches. So it does make the VXR somewhat vulnerable. Now I have to say the inside of this car doesn't feel as special as the SRI VX line, and you may be thinking, what are you on about? You've got those chunky Recaro seats which are body hugging and they're very supportive, and they are, but the inside of the cabin is a little bit sombre. Whereas the SRI VX line had red touches, it had red stitching as well. This replaces the red with a silver trim up here, and all the stitching is white, and I don't know, it just seems less sporty somehow. Also, the gear lever has got stitching on it that feels rather rough. I know it sounds really picky, but sometimes it doesn't feel very nice to hold. It just feels that the quality isn't quite there. Speaking of quality, these dials down here, they really don't do much for me. They're hard plastic, they look cheap, they look dated, and frankly they look pretty awful in my opinion. But like the SRI VX line, you do get the 7-inch touchscreen, which has your smartphone connectivity, DAB, radio and so forth, but still no navigation. As well as a 7-inch touchscreen, standard features include Recaro sport seats, a ride height that's been dropped by 10mm, sports pedals, Vauxhall OnStar, air conditioning, no climate control I'm afraid, and cruise control to name a few. Aesthetically, I'm not too sure of the styling. I know that's subjective of course, but I'm not a big fan of the looks. I think it looks okay, it's got bulges in the right places and you can tell it's a hot hatch, but I'm not a big fan of the carbon fibre touches. I just think it looks a tad Halford, so I know that's really harsh, but it really isn't for me. But some may like it. So you've got a carbon fibre effect on the wing mirrors, and you've also got a carbon effect on the front grille, and it kind of looks like it's got a little moustache thing going on, but not for me. Thankfully, these are an optional extra, so you don't have to have them if you don't want them. If you do want them though, well, that's up to you. Now I will say this car hasn't got the best handling you can get from a hot hatch, but brakes do provide a good amount of stopping power, and the exhaust provides a pretty good noise as well, but doesn't feel as composed in the bends, and it feels a little bit clumsy. It struggles to get its power down, and although the grip is good, I just think you can definitely get better hot hatches when it comes to handling. You really can. But this will still make really good progress, and it is still fun to drive on a B road, don't get me wrong. It just wouldn't be my first choice. So the Corsa VXR, you can't deny it's a quick car, but I'm afraid in all other areas it just falls behind its competitors, and although it's not a bad car, it's not a hot hatch I would buy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe for more car obsession. In my next video I'm going to be driving this, the new Vauxhall Crossland X, so if that takes your fancy, be sure to check out that video. But once again, thank you very much for watching.